All right, everybody. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. We're going to be continuing our Spooptober sketches from yesterday. We wrote down a list of ideas of basic, monsters, creatures, ghosts, etc. And we are doing sketches of each, and then the plan is to do a vote on either which one to turn into an illustration, or multiple illustrations, or maybe a big illustration that has all of them in them. So let's go ahead and move on over here. So we have our list here. We did a... Here, let me turn this off real quick. So our first one we did is we did a sketch of a werewolf. Looks pretty cool, pretty beefy, that kind of thing. Also, these sketches are not going to be the final pose or the final compositional version. These are just to have like a visual reference to choose from. So we did the werewolf, and I did a succubus sketch that was second on our list. Third on our list was a red ghost, which is a super vengeful ghost. And last night I did a color sketch of one here. I'd actually done art of a red ghost previously. Let me go ahead and let me put that on the screen so you guys can see. This is the old one. Is this one right here. I did this like a really long time ago. My original idea is that she would hang from the ceiling with her hair, and her hair would be very kind of like tentacle-like and that kind of thing, and then she's covered in blood, and then she has like a red veil. For this newer sketch here, I have it where she's actually walking across the ceiling, and she has this ridiculously long hair, and she looks like she's made out of mostly blood, and she drips down from the ceiling, and she can also walk along the walls or whatever surface that she wants, maybe converging into pools and pulling people into them, and then that kind of thing. So I did that last night, just because I kind of felt like doing a sketch, another sketch. So that's that. So the next sketch on our list here is going to be a wraith, and I have gathered a few reference photos, and it seems for the most part that wraiths seem to be represented as kind of dark and smoky kind of spirits, possibly a little bit skeletal towards the top, and then their lower half tends to fade away into the smoky aspect of it. So that's what we're going to work on next here. So let me go ahead and turn this off. And I kind of like the idea of actually using my brushes and colors and whatnot to do these sketches, instead of doing the line work so much. There's some that I think do work really well with line work, but not necessarily all of them. So we're gonna start on our wraith here. I am gonna pick a really desaturated and dark purple here, and we're gonna the first thing I think I'm gonna do is get a general shape with the lasso tool here. So we're gonna we're gonna start with the hood idea maybe, and then we're gonna just start with this really basic, and then what we'll do is we'll use our brushes here to go from there. So do that. Kind of get a super basic silhouette here. This is actually probably can go add some more into it. And they do seem to have arms, so I should probably put where the arms may be. So they kind of come like that, and then We can just kind of have like, you know, we're just doing like super simple. I mean, like really ridiculously, like almost childlike simple here. And then what I'll do is I'll work on it over time here, taking like the shapes and whatnot, and I'll use my brushes to, you know, start making this better. You know, it's that new meme going around. It's like, make it first, then you can make it better. So we're going to go with like that philosophy here. So I'm going to give it like some texturing down here and through here. I'm going to start erasing away a little bit towards the bottom here, around the outsides, just to begin with. And like I said, we're really going to work on things with like the brush and whatnot. This was just to get like a general, very, very general idea. Like possible shapes and stuff. So now we can go back in here, and some of these seem to have a little bit of like a lighter core to them, or glow in some of the references. A lot of them are, some of them are like, I kind of like the smokier ones a little bit more though, which is pretty cool. So keeping that in mind, I like to use like this flat marker here to do kind of like, you know, smoke or steam effects here. So let's kind of get that rolling a little bit. And we're also going to carve out with this as well, with like different sizes of it. So we can kind of like do like the hard cuts into it here. And you know, at some point we'll start like some form as well. You know, Wraith is a spirit too, so it's not like super like solid and corporeal, so then we can kind of get like some smaller cuts into it here. And then we can go back in and like add as well. Let's kind of get where it's got like a little bit of almost like a cloak kind of thing going on here. I seem to be represented by that a lot. So, and these are kind of cloth-like too down here at the bottom. I kind of want to cut this out more. Kind of make it more stringy. And then of course we're gonna eventually turn these into like a more hand-like structure than they currently are. We can also kind of like start doing like wispiness here and there, and like use our pressure here to kind of denote that a little bit. Maybe we'll get more of like the sleeve kind of aspect to it here. Hey, how's it going? So, you might have missed it, but so we have like a list of spoopy things that we came up with yesterday. We did some sketching of other things. So we had a werewolf, we had a succubus, and then last night I did a red ghost here. So the next thing we're working on is a wraith. So wraiths are kind of like, you know, they seem to be kind of like smoke-like. They seem to be like way more like ethereal. You know, not necessarily solid here. So we're just kind of playing around with like the smoke effect and everything. Oh yeah, I remember you had trouble with that. That sounds not fun whatsoever. So we can kind of start doing with the smaller brush. We can go in, we can carve a little bit here. That's how we get more of like that kind of like wispy, smoky effects. You know. And of course we also have we have like blur tools and like smudge tools that we can use as well at some point. Kind of do maybe like a almost like a rib cage, kind of like right here, because they seem to be kind of skeletal in some of the references here. So we're just gonna do like an applied shape here with this. Kind of have the cloak part of it kind of a little more open here. All right, now let's go back into our textured brushes here, and we can start to kind of do some other stuff to maybe get like, you know, a little more like definition of what we're doing here. You know, we're keeping this like super loose, of course, because these are sketches. And then at some point I could add some like glowy parts, excuse me, and some, you know, color and that kind of thing to it. Let's kind of get like the ribs kind of going a little bit better here. Say it's just like this is like a real basic spine, kind of like where the clavicle comes together there. Let's maybe have like a implied skull here, kind of. But of course it's going to be like kind of like stylized. It's also kind of fun because I haven't done like horror or like spoopy art in a very long time, so it's kind of neat to work on. Oh yeah, spoopy season, in my opinion, is upon us here. So since you just joined, what we did yesterday is we did some sketches. We got like 10, well, 11 different ideas of like some spoopy things. I'm doing sketches of them, and then we're gonna vote on which ones, or maybe a combined illustration. So we did a werewolf sketch. We did a succubus sketch. Last night I did a red ghost, like just quick like color sketch. And the next one on the list is a wraith, so that's what I'm working on right now. Kind of just going by what I found as you know, references on Pinterest. how they're generally like represented, and I'm just kind of using that as like a loose like guideline, and then I'm keeping things like real loose, real sketchy, and we're just going to use like colors and brushwork and like texture to kind of like get our definitions here of things. Let's kind of get these a little more defined here. Looking a little more like an arm. More like a hand too. Kind of have these as like more like a ripped part. I feel like I also kind of feel like horror or like spoopy art really texturing tends to be like a major aspect of making things like looking like, you know, unsettling. You know, it invokes more like emotion or feeling than normal here, so we're gonna, of course, in the final one, you know, we'll have more like defined things here, like the rib cage and like the skeletal aspect of it. Vegeta, come on, man. And let's start to get this kind of like in a more arm-like shape here than initially. Let's kind of get the like some hands, like I said, going here, just like real spindly and like, you know, like I said, we're still keeping things real loose. You know, I feel like the things being more warped also kind of makes them like more spoopy than they normally would be. Because you're like, oh, dude, why do you look like that? You okay, bro? Well, guess not, since you're a spirit, but there you go, buddy. There is a box underneath my computer, and Vegeta has decided to hang out in that, so I had to give him a little help getting into the box there. I don't have the smartest cat in the world, but I love him anyway, so. Alright, that looks pretty cool. Let's do some more stuff here. Let's kind of do some more like almost like shading kind of thing. Maybe kind of define like these little spaces more in between things. Maybe even actually take this out some more. Kind of get more of like the skull thing going on here. This brush actually looks pretty nice with this. kind of see what's going on a little bit more, like the folds and stuff. Maybe somewhere down here, or maybe with. Hey, it's totally okay, Pensy. I'm happy to see you, though. Glad you're here. Yeah, we're working on the wraith right now, so. Just keeping it nice and loose. And let's make this smaller so we can do some like kind of detail work here. Just to show this is like the hands and the fingers. Let's get like the teeth kind of like just implied here with some like trying to make it look spoopy and scary. Spoopy, scary skeletons. I think that looks pretty nice. Maybe take the smudge in some places and kind of do a little bit of, make it a little more ethereal around the edges here. Especially, I kind of like these arms more like a little bit smudged together. Maybe a little in this area here, here and here, up towards the top of the head. You know, like when I see spirits, they're not necessarily like super sharp. They're kind of like a little bit out of focus, basically. Alright, that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that. Do multiply. You know, I'm actually going to turn down the opacity a bit on these. Let's do 50. And then we'll do another multiply. We'll do linear burn here. Actually, we're going to... Oh, wow, that did it too many times. I was like, why is this so dark? Duplicate and then linear burn. Hell yeah, that's pretty good. Nice, nice, nice. Now we can kind of like overlay some stuff over top of it. And a lot of these references had like this kind of like greenish color to it. I don't really know what colors I should use for this, but let's see. We're going to kind of mess around here. So let's do a hard light layer. What is kind of like... I feel like kind of like sickly colors, like almost like weird, like greenish, like yellows and stuff are kind of like disturbing. So let's kind of do that. You know, we can just kind of start overlaying here into the more like skeletal areas at the very least. And then we're gonna put like different colors and stuff on it too, so we're gonna do that. And then probably along the arms too. It's actually kind of nice to do things like nice and loose compared to what I normally do, you know, all the like precision and whatnot. It's fun to just play around. Alright, let's see. I know like some oranges might look kind of cool to throw in here. Just in. I also like to throw kind of almost like randomish colors sometimes into things, because then when I throw like the gradient maps over top of them, it comes out with like really neat effects. And then of course you can change the different layer blending modes, so that kind of also adds like a whole nother like layer of like where you can play around with like different effects and get things like really interesting visually. So we're just gonna play around with some colors here. A little bit of some blues in here. And you know, it doesn't have to be any particular rhyme or reason where you place these colors either. Just kind of keep it somewhat consistent around where you're gonna put them. That way, like, one side doesn't have like less than the other. This is kind of a disturbing color here too. Actually, we can kind of bring out more of like the skull kind of aspect here with this and the bones. The bones. And then I'm also a fan of like magenta. I really like it, so I'm gonna throw some in here. I'm trying to put in like the darker areas though, because like it's kind of a harsh color once you get into it. But I'm thinking once I add like, you know, a gradient map and I add some chromatic aberration to this is going to come up with like a pretty neat effect. Let's put some in the hands here too. Let's see, do I don't want to do any more color? Let's do a little bit more green. We'll do some green in the actual eye parts, and like here and here. That'll make those kind of like stand out. You know, something along the lines of that. And then let's make sure that the outside here is still like kind of like a darker, smokier color here. So we're going to use a real dark desaturated purple on like the cloak area, and then we can introduce some other colors as well. Excuse me. Try to make sure that I have my brush size change here. We're also trying to create some contrast with this. And let's actually do some green around the outside here. Kind of Just kind of define the silhouette a little bit with it. Maybe use it as like part of like the highlights here. Get it into the little smoky wisps here. Maybe even like a darker green would actually maybe work a little bit better in it too. Just kind of keep this real loose. Let's do some darker green. We'll make the brush bigger too. Kind of just here and there in the purple. Kind of give it some variety. Maybe in between here, so it has a little bit of an outer glow too, actually. That'll make it even more ethereal-like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower it, and I'm going to kind of layer these with different blending styles. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I see people have been doing that where they use like a little like gotcha thing to come up with like new OCs and whatnot. So that's cool. Alright, so that makes that more like kind of glowy here. And then we can do, let's do some different other blending modes here to see if we can get some cool effects as well. Let's see, how's exclusion kind of look in some of these areas? Baby Vegeta. Nice. A wee baby. Prince of all Saiyans. Let's kind of get some of that orange in here again. I just want to do like splashes of different colors. Let's see, let's try, what does difference look like? Difference has a little bit more of that effect that I was looking for. So let's bring down the opacity on that. And let's actually put this all in a folder real quick, because then I can do different things to it. So we'll do the folder as through. So this is like the base of it. Let's put a color behind as well of some kind. So we want the background to be a little bit lighter so it stands out. So we'll start with a gray, and then from there we can do some things in the back. All right, so we got that. What I'm going to do now is do brightness. I'm going to do some Perlin noise, because I've been really enjoying adding Perlin noise to all my art lately. So let's bring it down to like 15%. And then let's add some texture to it. Alright, so this is kind of like smoky wispy, so maybe we'll find a texture, or maybe one of these cloth-like textures actually might look kind of nice on it. Let's try this. And let's see if we can align this. Oop, cannot be aligned. Okay, we'll just kind of do this number then. We're going to rasterize it. You know what? This is not sticking to the form whatsoever here. Oh, because I haven't clipped it. But it's still on the whole thing versus the... You know what? Let's put this actually in the back here. And then we can change this to brightness. And let's also do that down to like 20%. Yeah, it's not clipping to... I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. I need to kind of put like a base layer for everything to clip to. That's the only thing that's like kind of like interesting with doing things this way, where it's like not very concrete and loose. Like I'm used to doing like more like cell shaded kind of things, so I have like definite silhouettes and forms that I can like clip things to. So since this is so loose, it doesn't really have that that aspect. Alright, select and then invert, and we're gonna give it like, we're gonna give it all around kind of like a sickly color here. Nope, go underneath that one, thank you. There we go. And let's see how it looks when I clip everything to it. We can always add the wispiness back in. So now I could take these actually. I can put it like on here. Well, let's put it above. There we go. I want to take this and I want to change brightness to opacity on it. And then let's see, let's go ahead and let's put a gradient map on this to start with. Looks pretty cool like that, but we're gonna mess with the layer styles and see what we can get here. The difference looks kind of cool. Alright, pin light makes it look like that, which also looks pretty sick. Soft light is kind of along those lines. Let's turn this down to like 50%. And then I want a lot of variety in like the colors, so I'm gonna take a holographic one. Which is weird because you wouldn't think like holographic like color schemes and stuff would work well with like the horror, but it actually does. Like, you know, you can bring out like the variety of like the colors you've laid down, and you can do like different layer styles and whatnot too. Like if I took this and then turned it down to like 30% here, and then what we can do is we can mess with our tone curve. And we might have to go back in and do some stuff too, but that is okay. So now we can bring the darks back in like this. Bring the really bright stuff up so we can kind of see it. Turn a little bit of the mids, kind of like that. I don't know if I like that gradient map. Maybe a different variety of color. That one's got a lot of variety to it. That's kind of neat. I don't know, it's just a lot of experimenting. So you find something you like. Kind of like that. Maybe let's change this gradient map to something else. That might be a little too intense. There's like a red one. There's a green one. This one has red and green. Same with this one. It has blue, red, and green. This one's just black and gray. Kind of thinking maybe I'll just mess with these. Let's do also a color balance. We can get some different effects with that too. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Let's do a hue and saturation layer. That way we can take and we can use the slider to see if any of these other color combinations look cooler. So we can do this, kind of go through it one way and then the other, see what speaks to us, what stands out here. These purples and greens are kind of cool. Oh, this is actually pretty sweet going this way. Kind of like this. Let's kind of have some like maybe somewhere around here, and we can also mess with the saturation levels like that. Make it a little lighter if we wanted to. We can make it darker. So go a little bit lighter so we can kind of see what's going on here. And then we can do, now we can do a color balance to mess with different aspects of it. And of course we can always go back in with our brushes and do like more definitions on things. So what if I made this a little more green? Hey, how's it going? Thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we're doing something different. This is, I decided that I am super excited, of course, that, you know, we're getting more into the Halloween months. So we are doing some, like, basically, like, spoopy theme stuff. I made a list of possible, you know, things to do for illustrations for this month. And we are going to vote on that and either come up with like either a big illustration or more than one illustration. So let me show you what we got so far. We got a werewolf sketch. We have a succubus sketch. And there is a red ghost sketch that I did. And then right now, the next on the list that we are working. Oh, you've already been chilling. I'm so sorry. I just try to like let people like know what's going on, so just in case. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. I think we need some more like highlight areas to it, so let's add that. Yeah, you know, I want everybody to feel like they know what's going on here, so you're not like running in blind. Let's take this and let's see if we can do some stuff that might make it look a little cooler, maybe a little bit more defined, even though, like I said, we're still keeping it sketchy. But this is actually doing a really kind of cool effect here. I like this actually. So we're going to rock it. We're going to go with it. Also, if you're an artist looking for a community here, I can give you a link to my Discord here. Everybody's super nice, super supportive. We have a great time in the Discord. I post things that I don't always post on like my social media, like projects like I'm working on, like sneak peeks of stuff. There's a promotion tab, which I know a lot of people really like because for some reason, I don't know why like artists and streamers don't have like a promotion tab. It's really irritating. Like I get trying to avoid spam, but you know, all of us have projects going on, and when I have money, I want to be able to like commission people. So having a one place I can look that I can go and be like, all right, I want to commission this artist. So let me go into the promote tab and see if they got their commissions open. That kind of thing. Ooh, yeah, I'm liking that. That looks super cool. Oh, yeah, I mean, I also, so we also talk about anime, we talk about video games, we talk about music, you know, that kind of thing. Everybody's welcome. You don't have to be an artist, so. Yeah. We also help each other out, someone's feeling down, we all come together and try to, lift their spirits if we can, maybe give them some advice. Ooh, I'm really liking how this is looking. This looks really cool. You know what? There's a piece here that actually connects the rib cage together. This is not exactly how you draw it, but just kind of make sure that it's there. And of course, there are way more ribs, I believe. I'm not like super good at like the skeletal structure here, so that's why we're keeping it all loosey goosey. But hey, if you just want to lurk in the streams, that's totally cool too. I'm super appreciate that. I also upload all of my streams, or at least for the most part, unless I mess up and don't get the audio settings right, and there's copyright music on it. But I have like a YouTube where I upload any streams in case people miss them. Oh my god, I keep hitting my button on my mouse here. I mean, not my mouse. My freaking pen. Words are hard. Yeah, Pensie's an OG. Pensie's been here from the start. So if you want to have like a baseline to go by, Pensie's your go-to here. They can let you know exactly like the vibes, that kind of thing. They're like a living testament to my community. And they're super cool. They do really nice traditional art, and they do commissions. So if you want to commission them, you could. I don't know. I don't treat art as any sort of like a form of competition. Um, yeah. It's pretty complex. Luckily, I am a quantum being, so my hair's kind of like my being and myself is very I can change into different states based on whatever however I'm like either like charged or, I'm 0 and 1 at the same time, that kind of thing. So I can always change my appearance. Yeah, they do. They cry. Let's see, let's turn that down a little bit, and then we'll duplicate the layer, and we'll make it a glow layer. And then we're gonna blur it a bit to by 10. There we go. That looks pretty neat. I like that. That's really cool. I kind of want to add some more dark back into it too. So let's do some linear burn, and let's grab this, and we can kind of maybe do some like a little bit of definition here with these kind of things, just in between a little bit where it needs to be kind of like a little bit darker to give us some contrast back in. Kind of want to do this like really sketchy though, so it goes along with our sketchy sketch. Words are hard. I am out of my allergy medicine, so I'm kind of like struggle bussing here. Like that, and let's put some in here. Let's kind of also make these dark here so they have like they kind of stand out. I don't know, stuff like this is really fun. I like it. I get to do something different than I normally do. Kind of define some of the folds like this a little bit, even though they're not like super accurate by any means. The final illustrations will, I'll put a ton of work into them, so they'll actually look pretty neat and more like correct, especially with folds. This is just, like I said, loosey-goosey. Yeah, I got kind of carried away designing that. I was like, let's give him even more hair. Surely more is better, right? I'm actually working on designing my second model here. I also I do make VTuber models, not like the rigging part of it, but I make the art part of it. And I've done a couple of them. I've done one for my wife, Demon Lord Havoc. I've done for Little Nugget. That one's like a Final Fantasy inspired like hero one, and of course like my wife's is like a Demon Lord. I've done like a Book Dragon one. Yeah, I've done quite a few here. So anybody who wants art for their model, like all cut up and ready to go to be rigged, I can do that. Oh yeah. Humble brag, my wife is amazing. I have the best wife. I need to get her a championship belt for world's best wife. Universe's best wife. Ooh, yeah. I like how this looks. Maybe I'll try, if this one gets picked, maybe I'll try some like legitimate hatching. It might be kind of cool. I'm probably spending more time on this than I need to since we're just doing sketches. But I'm having fun right now, so you know what? That's what matters, right? This is like so far removed from how I normally shade things too, so it's kind of interesting to a little bit of a different variety here. If you follow me on like X or anything like that, or Instagram, you'll see that my art normal looks very different from any of this. But it's fun to experiment and do like different new things. Gives us opportunity to play. Normally I'm like fairly rigid with the kind of art I do. Oh, yeah. No, I think it looks cool too. I need to get out of my comfort zone here and there. It's important. You can kind of get locked into like one thing and then things can get stale, they can get dull. Oh yeah, I like the way that turned out. Like, if I end up, well, the red ghost is also something that Havoc and I also have for a different project. So that's something I'm going to explore more anyway. So this is just kind of good practice. Red ghosts are extremely like aggressive, angry ghosts. Like they've been done wrong. Oh yeah, I need some water. Good call. Yeah, I like the idea of having them like kind of like walking across the ceiling or coming out of the walls or even like the floor, like different surfaces kind of like pooling and bubbling up, and then you know using the different strands of like blood and like hair like tendrils to kind of do their deeds, inflict their horror. All right, that looks pretty cool. So gonna go ahead. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna merge all this together, and then we're gonna kind of take our blur tool a little bit here. We're gonna blur a little bit of the edges, and then we're gonna take that marker tool I was using before to also kind of get our smoky wispiness back here. Trying my best not to overdo this. It is real easy to do. Then let's take this. We can kind of do this with like some different colors here. It's kind of around the outside, I think, would be cool. And then we're going to change the size, of course, and do things where we can like cut into it, out of it. Oh, good call. I should save. You are correct. That is important. I would cry if I lost what I was doing. Yeah. Pensie's always holding me down. It's like, hey, buddy, you should do this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you were right. It's like you and Nympha just like keeping me on track here. The Aniki management system. I feel like I should probably put this like against maybe a different color background. Let's also do, oh my god, go away, ad block. Don't mess up what I'm doing, I swear. I'll destroy you. Kind of do some like, make it kind of glowy around the outside here. Then we can go in and we can carve into it. Let's put some different color in there too, with this like green. Oops, that's the wrong, pick the wrong one. Kind of give it a little bit of this here and there. You know, let's go ahead and make this background darker. Can do similar to like what I did to the red ghost. So do that so we can kind of see a little bit more what's going on. We can make the effects look better and whatnot. So we're going to start real loose, and then we can go in and do some like, you know, do some hard cuts here and there to kind of define it more, make it more wispy. I put a lot of the yellow over here. That's okay. I think it'll be all right. Into it some more in some places. The shape of this brush is kind of a little bit different to work with. And let's do some, maybe like some texturing might be kind of cool. Probably should have done this on another layer, but that's okay. I'll kind of blur it into it. That line. It's kind of cool. See what we can do here in the background. So let's go across the wheel here. I think we need some blue in the back. It'll make it stand out more. What the heck? Did this get pulled down? What happened here? Why is that weird? Oh, excuse me. Let's do that, and we'll do it as, oops, like this. We'll do hard lights, and then we're gonna do this number, duplicate, we're gonna lighten a bit with it, and duplicate again. We're going to do some screen, and then brightness, and I'm going to do some purling noise, of course. I'll do it a little bit more intense. Ooh, we're working on a new banner. Nice. Hell yeah. That's going to be cool when it's done, I imagine. So do that, and then let's put some sort of like image material here on the background that looks interesting. Give us a little bit more contrast again. Trying to think, get something that's not going to take away from it too much. So I really like using these like watercolor blots, especially for, you know, like texturing purposes. It's like really works out really neat. So let's do this and clip them all to that. Turn this also to brightness. Brightness to opacity. Turn this down also to like 20%-ish. Like that. And then we'll do gradient map on the back. And let's do like soft light. No, maybe not soft light. Let's see how like pin light looks. Looks kind of neat. We would just need to lighten it up considerably. Gradient map. Let's do one of these numbers. also do pin light, and we'll bring that way down. Do like 30% on that. And then we can do our tone curve. We're going to back out here. Really bring in the darks so we get some contrast. So I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll take this, we'll merge it, and then duplicate it. There's all sorts of like different tricks you can do, of course, especially when it comes to the different layer blending modes and whatnot. So exclusion, let's see, let's how hard mix looks. Let's do maybe lighten. Alright, what we're going to do with this first is we're going to duplicate it and duplicate it. We're going to do color. We're going to do chromatic aberration. A big old chromatic aberration on it. And we're going to do lighten. And we're going to do a motion blur here because that'll look pretty neat. And we're going to turn down the opacity on that to like 30%. And let's see. I think things are kind of looking like they might be blurring together a little bit here. So. Let's also do. Duplicate this layer. We're also going to do a chromatic aberration on it. And we're going to take this lighten layer here. We're also going to hit it with a motion blur. So that looks a little bit more cohesive. Then we can take this all together. We'll go ahead and merge it. And we're going to zoom in. Oh, first what we're going to do to check our values here. I'm going to do this, turn it to color, and then we're going to do our tone curve here. And we're going to mess with the values till we can kind of tell better what's happening here. From a distance, when it's nice and small, I think it needs a good amount of contrast. Maybe something like that. Then we can take that away. Hit the screen. Yeah, it looks a lot better. I don't know, there's a lot more we could do with this, but I'm going to leave this for now because it's going to be a sketch. So if I keep working on it, it'll end up being like an actual illustration, and then we won't get another sketch done this stream. Anyway, so cool. So that is going to be our wraith sketch for now. So let's stick that in a folder, and then we'll see what is up next on our list. And maybe we can get one more sketch pumped out here for this stream. Alright, cool. So what do we got up next here? Skeleton Warrior. I feel like that's pretty similar to what we just did. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to skip to like say like a giant kaiju. I think that would be fun to work on next here. So I haven't drawn a kaiju in freaking forever. So we're going to start with like a silhouette here. So let's see, what kind of kaiju? So of course it's going to have like a really big body because it's kaiju, obviously. So we'll kind of start with that as like maybe like the chest area, and we're going to vary our different parts here. So I feel like it probably should have like multiple like arms. I think that would be cool. So we're going to do that as a shoulder. That as like another shoulder. Let's give it like 4 arms on the upper body. I think that would be pretty neat. So we'll do this side of it first, and then we can add the rest of the kaiju at some point. Let's kind of have like a neck kind of thing that comes forward. We'll do it like, let's do it so we can kind of tell how it's going to sit here. And we're going to have to constantly manipulate the size of this. It's going to look real silly at first, so trust the process. And let's kind of go ahead and maybe these arms come forward and they're a little bit like smaller. So kind of do it like that. And then maybe these are like the bigger arms. Like this. And let's mess with the values. And then maybe it has like a really big like arm base that kind of comes down like this. We're just playing here. It's probably gonna look a little weird at first. So let's give it like some big old finger kind of things here, and then maybe like a support one like this, and then maybe this one has like kind of like a hand like that, and then we can kind of do like some maybe more like grippy kind of fingers. Oops, have to make that lighter. This is probably gonna take a couple tries here to get to get something that looks all right. So we're just kind of, we're going to put like semblance of a head here. And let's actually do a layer behind it here. And then we'll do, so let's bring this all together a little bit more like that. And then we can do, just use different values here. Kind of comes like that maybe. And make it smaller again so I can fit it. Oops. Gotta grab all the layers. Grab all the layers, Aniki. What are you doing? You're a bum. Okay. Put it over there. And let's give it like some kind of thigh things going on here. Deselect so it's not on the same layer. That side. Then maybe it's like you gotta have like somewhat of some support here. Then maybe like this other foot's like kind of behind. We're not doing super great with the silhouette here, but you know what? We'll work on it. Ooh, so maybe it's got like got some like cool like spines or spikes or something that comes off of like the arm here. Might be kind of neat. Let's also put some maybe like kind of off the back of the head here. Just so we get a little bit like more interesting shapes. Also, like sharper shapes are like more dangerous, so. And let's do some stuff on the other side here. So we'll do, I'd say this is going to be maybe the other arm is kind of like in a different position here. A little bit kind of like this. We're going to do this all as one color here because it's stuff in the back and it's going to be lighter anyway. Like that. And let's have our little finger toe kind of things going on here. We see a couple of them from that angle. And maybe it also has like a tail of some kind. Alright, that's kind of like a real basic shape here. Oh, I forgot about the little Rexy arms. So maybe it comes out like this. And we're actually going to change this a little bit so we can kind of see where this other hand is. With this like grabby fingers. Maybe it grabs with like the small hands to do something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Alright, that's a pretty neat shape so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge all these together. We're going to like kind of center it here. I should have done this as like a landscape orientation, but that is totally okay. And let's see real quick. Let's duplicate it. We're going to check the silhouette so far. You kind of can't see the head, but I don't know. If I do this like for real, I'm going to do it as in a different orientation. So we're not going to worry about it. We're just sketching anyway. So let us kind of start here with the head. So it's got these like big ass legs here. So we need to kind of think about maybe where this like, maybe this kaiju also comes out of the water. Most of the time they do come out of the water. So let's kind of get some like eyes going here. And we're just gonna kind of sketch here as we go. Kind of give it like, you know, we could almost make this into like coral. That might be kind of cool. If we go for like an ocean theme like kaiju here, that'd be really neat. Make the head kind of whitish here. Kind of like these jams. Maybe they're like kind of like fin-like almost here. And then of course it's got to have some gills going like this way. It's an underwater one. I'm gonna give it some like ears for when it's on land. Let's give it kind of like a... it's kind of looking like a big zodal almost here. Let's give it like multiple eyes. Ooh, we can make it like real creepy and give it like a really long, like big jaw. Kind of comes up out like this. We're trying to make things like kind of scary here. And then deep sea creatures tend to have like really super spiny kind of teeth that are like kind of like uneven here. And over time here, we're going to make sure that this looks a lot cooler. Ooh, so let's kind of bring in the neck kind of in with like some things like this. And let's kind of get where we got this like maybe like fin-like structure. And again, I also want to kind of keep this like coral thing kind of going here, so we're just going to kind of bring it like it's like kind of like growing and is attached to the kaiju. You want to like repeat elements as much as you can to really drive home like your themes. We're gonna do some coloring too after we get like our sketches here. So maybe this like kind of like funnels like in like this into like a big mouth here, like it can like suck in. Yeah, let's have like where the parts of it just kind of like are like almost like like stringy and webby, and then underneath here we have like kind of like the gill kind of parts, and then on the shoulders here like some big ass shoulders because it's gonna be like a swimming thing, and it's also got to have like these big giant like, I don't know, I'm always a fan of like big almost like punchy arm kind of things. Not that I watched a shitload of Big O when I was younger and Godzilla and all that good stuff. Let's have like, it's got like maybe like a kind of little bit of like an armored kind of thing going on here on the chest, where maybe it's got like crustacean kind of like exoskeleton parts to protect. And then maybe there's like a section here where these arms kind of pop out, these little arms. And then maybe the little arms have like a little kind of also crustacean kind of thing going on here with some coral coming off them. We want to make sure we repeat this coral as much as possible. And we'll have it go down like this. Ooh, maybe the coral also kind of like makes almost like like a punchy kind of knuckle guard here. And we can put some barnacles on it, actually. That'd be cool. And then kind of comes up, and then maybe it comes out and kind of does like this. You know, we're trying to make the shapes like as interesting as we can here. Also sticking with like this like kind of ocean theme we have going on. Some more barnacles, and we'll kind of shape it a little bit here. And maybe from here it's got like the kind of like spines. Kind of change the shape of them a little bit. Maybe they're more like a hook right here. It's just a kind of cool shape. Some along that line. And then we want to make sure the head here also kind of has like a, I'm gonna bring the body up a little bit here and bring like some where the back would be. Kind of continue these fins as they go back. And let's put some barnacles on this, because that would also kind of continue our theme here. Maybe have these like little sections in between. Kind of have like the exoskeleton. And let's give it... Oh, I wonder if I just gave it like some... Well, no, claws might look stupid. Give it kind of like a hand-like structure. And we're going to continue our coral motif on it. Maybe these are like sectioned and like kind of armored here. Do these nice and big. Like that, and then maybe this one comes out, and then also has kind of this like little armored thing on it. And then we'll do like it as like a support back this way. Something along that line. And then for the other side here, we're just going to kind of outline. We're going to do that also with this. We're just going to kind of have the outline here. Oh yeah, we need to have like some coral coming off of it, of course. so we got that. So kind of like have a little spot here for where like the back legs are. Maybe they're also covered a little bit by like some armored kind of thing here. Let's give them like some maybe like fin-like parts that kind of come off the back here. Maybe come over and around. Something like that. Then we can have more of like a foot-like thing. Have like a little claw back here. And then our tail, I feel like should kind of come like this, be nice and fat. And then maybe the tail, maybe the tail tip is kind of like hooked too. Be kind of cool. Something like that. And I definitely need some sort of fin-like structure here on the tail. Yeah, something like that. Let's go ahead and turn our silhouette off here so we got like a sketch going on. Gonna duplicate it real quick. Hit multiply. Gaussian blur 10. So it looks really messy right now, but what we can do is we can add some like colors and stuff. Oh, I haven't played the first one. All right, I need to check it out. So let's see here. It's kind of, let's do some like vibrant like kind of eye colors here. I want to make them different colors as well. Hell yeah. I'll have to check that out. Alright, let's do the inside of the mouth is kind of held like this. Maybe not this color, maybe a different color would be better. Let's do something along the lines of like maybe this, where it's a little more desaturated. Gita, stop. Sorry, my cat keeps trying to escape and he's been so bad. He's been like attacking this other old cat for no reason. So try to keep him in here as much as possible. Alright, and let's do it's kind of like maybe get some like the teeth here. And again, these colors will probably change quite a bit. Just kind of making them try to like really stand out right now. And we'll put some along the ridge here as well. Bah. Yeah, honestly, I am very influenced by Spawn. I read a ton of Spawn like growing up. Spawn is my jam. Oh shit, that was all on one layer. Oh well. Worry about the colors. That's, you know what, let's get rid of these for now. kind of want to do this a little bit better, so let's do a base first. That would make sense. That way we can kind of block in like general colors first here, along with our shapes. It's kind of hard to determine where. I don't think I did super great with the silhouette here, but that's all right. All right, we'll just start with like a real basic gray below it. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Invert. Start with that. There we go. We can kind of see our silhouette a little bit more here. Maybe, you know what, I need to start with the bigger shape areas first, I think. So I kind of want to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of block out this here with like the coral. Coral's kind of like sticking out so we can get some color variety here. Yeah, something like this. And then gonna kind of put some, oops, get this. Oh shit, it's like, oh no, it is adding. There we go. Start with like some pinkish color. Kind of get a little bit of variety there. And I haven't looked at a coral reef in a while, but just kind of go with these colors for now. Has some variety in color here. I feel like coral's pretty colorful. I think there's a bit more like reddish to it. Of course, when I go to do this, if this one ends up being one of the things that's selected, what I'll do is use references, of course. So I know they have a lot of like kind of red in them. So let's kind of darken up some spots with that. And I think they have a little bit of yellow here and there. Oops. We're just giving some variety in color. Make it look kind of cool like that. Alright, so we got that. And we should probably also do that with our other one over here. Trying to like cut it out the best of my ability. It's not going to be perfect, of course, because this is just a sketch. Oops, I think there was supposed to be some negative space there. That's okay. We get the general idea. Oh yeah, that's right. And I put some purple in here too, so let's do some of that in there. And a little bit of yellow here and there. Alright, cool. Cool. Let's do... Kind of get like the claws to be a different color here. And we should probably do the spikes as well as a similar color. Oops, I got a little bit of spike on this one. Sometimes when I'm too messy, I kind of like lose track of where I put things in it. I'm just like, I think this is this. We'll be much more organized when we do like a finalized version, so. Alright, and there's kind of like a spike back here. Ooh, let's get the claws on the hands too to be on the little hands. Alright, what color should these be? I kind of need them to stand out, so maybe something along this line. And then we can add some color to them to make them a little more interesting. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Deselect, I meant to lock the layer, the alpha layer, so then we can add some color to it. So let's do something to make it stand out. So we'll do some maybe like green tips to them. Something like that. Some variety, and then maybe some blue. Like that. And then, so that's kind of like spikiness to it. And let's kind of get like some, I probably should have laid down the main body color first, but oh well. We're already into it, so. Too late now. Actually, let's get that tail in there. I don't know. Things don't have to be exact. It's not a big deal. Alright, what about the main body color? What should the main body color be? Can you give me some colors? What are you working on again here for your banner, right? Like, what are you actually drawing for the banner? Let's give it kind of like a purplish body. Something like that. I mean, like, is there like an OC, like a character on it, or like which like OC is it? It's 4 of your OCs. Oh, okay, gotcha. Let's see. Trying to think. I'm assuming you want to have like separation of the OCs, so you probably want to have like different colors for each of the OCs, right? Uh, well, I mean, it kind of depends on like their personalities, you know. Like, if a character is more like, say, like hot-headed, you might want to use like more like reds and maybe oranges or yellows or like warm colors, things like that. Um, if they're more like a calm character, of course, you want more like blues and purples and, something along like that line. Um, if a character is very like gloomy, maybe you can make them like very like monochromatic. Um, yeah, there's just like stuff you can do like that where it's like kind of like based on like the personality of like the characters. More blues back here. Goth punk tomboy princess. Hey, how's it going? It's been a minute. I am doing sketches of different creatures and ghosts and ghouls and whatnot for Spooptober here. So we made like a list, and I'm just kind of going down the list and doing different things here. Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is a sketch for a kaiju. Let me show you the other ones we did. Two here. Uh, Actually, I gotta put it in a folder so I can even do that. Hold on. Sorry. Folder. We're gonna put kaiju. And alright, so the first one we did is we did a werewolf sketch here. Again, these sketches are just sketches just to give us like a visualization of things to vote on that we're going to make into, an actual like illustration. So we got a werewolf, we have a succubus, we also have a red ghost here. So I did that the other night. And then on stream today, I did a wraith. And now I'm working on the kaiju, which is this one right here. So we're just like sketching a bunch of different ideas and stuff. So, oh yeah, yeah. Well, the cool thing with, like I said, with the red ghost is that I already did one a long time ago that was a little bit different for a different project, and we're probably gonna pick that project back up at some point. So, I had some things in mind about like updating it and whatnot. So, thanks, I appreciate it. I also think it's important to show like I do things like really really like messy, and not everything that I do is like super polished and that kind of thing. I know sometimes people can be frustrated when they see artists work and it's like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. And it's like, well, look where I started with it. Like, it was super rough in the beginning here. And it's also fun to like generate ideas with other people. Okay, let's see. Sorry, Pensy. Let's see. You said so goth. So I would probably make the goth one mostly monochromatic, and then maybe pick like a really bright pop color for like say something like the eyes, like the irises. The punk one, I would probably use some like greens, some yellows. Well, actually, you know what? The punk, yeah, yeah, some greens and yellows with like a splash of red somewhere. The tomboy, I would probably put that more in uh, like I don't know, maybe. Okay, so I got monochromatic and red for that one. We got greens and yellows and a splash of red for that one. The tomboy, so probably the tomboy would probably be kind of energetic, so maybe like I don't know. I'm trying not to give you ones that are too similar here. So actually, maybe you make the goth into like some blues and purples. The tomboys are usually pretty energetic, so maybe like some warm colors like oranges. And then like of course the princess you could go more into like the like magentas, pinks, lighter blues, that kind of thing. I don't know. My brain's kind of fried from doing the what I'm doing right now, so I'm sorry. I've got to like getting to the point where I'm probably gonna wrap this up in just a sec here. I need to take a break, so hey, you're welcome. Try to help you any way I possibly can, so ooh, yeah. Pensie's also working in traditionally as well, so gotta keep that in mind. Kind of make this a little lighter here. We want this area to really like pop out, so there we go. Oop, got hit with an ad. No, the ads. How dare they? Alright. Let's see. Let's just do a little bit of this. I might have to finish this sketch up uh, off stream here because, like I said, I'm getting pretty fatigued at this point. My creative tank empties pretty quickly, so multiple ideas in one go is a lot for me for some reason. I don't know why. I have no clue why. We're just going to add some texturing to it real quick here. Kitty's freaking out, as he does. And let's turn this overlay down to like 50% here. Let's actually we'll take this stuff and put it. No, put it like here. No, that's probably good. Alright, something like that, and then we'll put some sort of color here in the background. Let's just put grayish for now, just as a placeholder. So kind of do this just to have it so it sticks out here. Let's make sure that it's in this folder. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Make sure it's all together in the same folder. It is. Hell yeah. All right. Yeah, I think this is a good place to stop. I'm sorry, I know a couple of people just joined here. I will be putting up both today and yesterday's stream today because I forgot to put up yesterday's stream. So it will be available on YouTube for you guys to watch. If you need the link, just DM me either on any of my social media or on Twitch here directly, and I'll send you a link to that as well. Let me go ahead and throw you guys in the lobby here. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, giving me great ideas, watching me scribble and do my process here. I'm really excited about Spooptober. I'm glad to have like, some different creativity flowing here. If you like the content I do, please follow me to see when I go live. We are pushing for partner here, so my first sub goal is 10 subs. I am already at 4, so we're doing pretty well here. So if you consider subscribing, that would help me out tremendously to continue to do what I do. I will not be streaming tomorrow, but I'll be back on Thursday and Friday with some